Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice. Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice. You're listening to Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice, presented by Hakeem Alibokus Alexander, for wisdom in association with UniquilibriuM. Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice. So, very simply, Dream Action Yoga is a brand. It's my own yoga practice. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Dream Action Yoga came out of my reading of a book called The Heart of Yoga. And there was a very specific line that I pulled from the book. And so it became the tagline for Dream Action Yoga, which is exposing the conditioned personality. So Dream Action Yoga is exposing the conditioned personality. Now, what is the conditioned personality? And how do we expose the conditioned personality? And why would you want to expose the conditioned personality? So, Dream Action Yoga, exposing the conditioned personality. So that's what we're looking at with Dream Action Yoga. D-A-Y, day, like a daydream, exposing the conditioned personality. So again, the question is, or the questions are, what is the conditioned personality? Why would we want to expose the conditioned personality? And how do we expose the conditioned personality? So, and everything requires a very simple definition so that we're figuratively on the same page. And so, conditioned personality is simply your behaviors, which are controlled by your subconscious and unconscious mind. And so when we expose that, what we're doing is looking at our behaviors and how those behaviors are generating various different outcomes, different results, because everything does. Everything creates a different outcome or result. But this is not the time to dive too deeply into that. Just that we can expose it in a very simple way. And that is what pranayama practice is. And so remember, at first I told you that Dream Action Yoga, exposing the conditioned personality, is my brand of yoga, teaching since 2004, so it's 18 years. But that's my opinion. It's my practice. It's what has continued my successful yoga practice for all of these years, with my own personal practice and in teaching. And so pranayama is simply, we'll bring it to prana, it's breathing meditation. That is the all-powerful practice. And it's simple in that it requires awareness and attention. And it's difficult because it requires awareness and attention. However, you can begin with something very simple. This is Breathing Meditation 101, Pranayama Practice 101. Is the next time you find yourself breathing in, just pay attention to it. And maybe even say breathing in, and when you breathe out, say breathing out in your head, right? Without making sound with your mouth, without speaking outwardly. So when it happens, just say breathing in, breathing out. You just acknowledge something that's happening, right? Now it's interesting that there's something that's happening, this breathing in and breathing out, that you can control if you wanted to, but you normally don't want to. It would be very cumbersome. It would be very difficult. It would be very challenging if you had to sit around and control and monitor your breathing all the time. It's like to control and monitor your blinking. It's something you can do, but it would be unnecessary. It's not efficient to do so. And what if you wanted to even go further and control your heartbeat, which I believe all of us have the capacity to do so, only because I can, and I know other people who do control their heartbeats, the strength of it, the speed of it, sometimes allowing for it to momentarily stop, or as some say, to skip a heartbeat. And so you can simply pay attention to the breath, to your breath, when it breathe in and breathe out. That's the first and simplest practice. So if you were able to do that, if you were able to silently to yourself in your own mind say breathing in and breathing out when you were breathing in and when you were breathing out accordingly, then you have passed the first test of understanding pranayama yoga, or the yoga of the breath. And I have intentionally not deepened the definitions just yet, but just know that it's connected to breath, which without you would have no life. Obviously, right? Is it obvious? So now we've passed the first part of simply acknowledging the breath coming in and out. And then I alluded to the control of it, which you know you can do, just like you can control the blinking of your eyes, you can control the breathing of your breath up to a point, yes. You can hold it for a certain amount of time, either in or out, before you either have to inhale or exhale again. And this is, of course, because of the body's needs. And so the next part is to simply control a few breaths. You can do it with just one, by simply taking a big deep breath in and out. Now, I just did both of those breaths, in through my nose and out through my nose. You could easily breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth, or any combination thereof that feels comfortable. So now look at that. We've just done two practices. The first one is we just paid attention to our breath coming in and out. We can even split that into three, because at one we could just pay attention to the breathing in and the breathing out. A step two, we could say, or it could be, maybe step 1A, we could say breathing in while we're observing our breathing in, and then we could say breathing out while we're observing our breathing out, inside of our mind, right? Silently, without speaking. And then the next thing that we just practiced was to control at least one breath in and out. Breathing in and breathing out. Either breathing in the nose and out of the nose, or breathing in the nose and out the mouth, or any combination. So now we have a simple practice to breathe in and breathe out. If you did this just once a day, and you have not been doing that before, taking the time to breathe in deeply and breathe out at least once, you'll see a lot of improvements in your life and so many things by simply doing that once a day. It's difficult to believe, but just one big deep breath in and out, if you haven't been consciously, with full awareness and attention, intentionally taking that big deep breath in and out for your own good, right? When you start doing it with that intention, for your own good, breathing in and breathing out. Once you do that with the idea that you're doing it for your own good, at least once a day, many things will improve. You just have to be looking out for them. So now how do we make this more juicy, right? How do we make it more complex, this apparently overly simplified practice of pranayama yoga, this practice of breathing, right? Well, so now we have a few practices we can do. One, simply, and this could be a practice you do for any length of time, is to simply observe your breath. It's a practice. So people say, well, what are you doing lying around doing nothing? Right? Well, it's a very healthy, it's a very therapeutic, it's a very necessary practice for you to sometimes, if you can, very often, at least once a day, if you have that luxury. Many people don't, but sit down or lie down somewhere, maybe with your eyes closed, if you can even do that, and just pay attention to your breathing. I'm not saying I didn't even get to hold up. I didn't even get to controlling your breath yet, or breathing big, deep breaths in right here, and what I was just now saying in particular in this last track. No. Listen to what I just said here, that you could sit down or lie down and just pay attention to the fact that you are breathing. Right? Please tell me. I mean, you've done that at least once in your whole lifetime. If not, then you can understand how this can start to lead to a very fruitful practice in your life. And if you're an advanced practitioner, I'll get to you. But this is an advanced practice. You know how many people were here to just simply pay attention to the fact that they're breathing, will be perplexed by the idea to just pay attention? We usually don't pay attention to the fact that we are breathing until it becomes difficult for some reason, right? If you have a catarrhal disorder or a cold, right? If you have a cold or you have some other congestion that makes it difficult for you to breathe, even if you can breathe through your mouth, and because you have to, and that's the only option you have because your nose is congested, right? We call it the stuffy nose. And even when that happens, you start appreciating your ability to breathe even more and more. Because breathing through your mouth gets kind of weird. Tongue gets all dry and sticky, and you start to have to swallow more, and everything becomes a completely different texture. Matter of fact, I'm all thinking about this mouth breathing and making me thirsty. So So now you have the simple practice and a meditation. This is a full scale lesson that has gradients that will have profound changes on your physical, mental, and spiritual being. It's one of those practices that I believe has sustained me in conjunction with other things through my worst and lowest times, that I have always been careless enough to express when I was depressed and suicidal and angry and hated the world and hated my friends and became paranoid, stricken with grief and all kinds of other things. But I would probably be much worse off if it weren't for such a wonderful and powerful practice as what could be called pranayama yoga, the art of breathing with intention. So now here's a little master key that you can take with you as part of dream action yoga and the pranayama practice, is the word luck as an acronym for love, understanding, compassion, kindness. Luck. You make your own luck. You make your own love. You make your own understanding. You make your own compassion. You make your own kindness, or at least you have the capacity to do so. We don't always make those things, because I've made hate and confusion and distrust and cruelty just as easy as love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. So all of these things are possible. It's just choosing. And part of choosing is using an acronym like luck, love, understanding, compassion, and kindness, because like all mantras and all prayers, they are reminders, they are self-hypnosis exercises, SHE, right? Self-hypnosis exercise, she, these acronyms to help us remember, mnemonic devices to bring to mind some ideas like love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. Love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. Luck that we want to bring to mind maybe when we're meditating. Because you can choose to think about whatever you want when you're doing a breathing meditation. And remember, I'm still here on this beginning part about simply sitting with your thoughts about your own breathing. Just paying attention to it. Just as you breathe in and out, you're just acknowledging that you're breathing in and out. It can get weird real quick. You're just sitting there, just breathing in and out. Then it gets to a point where you start, wait a minute, am I controlling my breath, or is it just happening by itself? And you can get stuck. You start to get stuck, like, how do I stop breathing myself? And it's fun because, you know, don't try this at home, kids. Don't have a panic attack by paying attention too much to your breath. It's an advanced practice, right? It's like why you need definitions of these words, some of you, right? Pranayama. You didn't know? All of the properly indigenous ancient wisdoms and the schools of these wisdoms, the wisdom schools, however you would like to name them. Usually they're called wisdom schools in the traditions that I learned in. And especially in what we call the East, Asian continent, and the countries therein, right? Qi in China, QI or CHI. Ki in Japan. KI, Korea. Prana in yoga, prana. And so it's the breath, the life force, the life force. For without it, you would have no life. If you could no longer breathe in or out for that matter, eventually, as you know, you would suffocate. Your physical body would cease to function as it once did. We'd say you were dead, dead without the breath, death without the spirit, without the life force. And so, by you sitting with yourself, this first practice, right? We're neither controlling it or not attempting to not control it either, just letting the breath be, paying attention to it. That in itself is acknowledging, and acknowledgement, as many of you know, is a form of honor. You know, so many people go around this world just looking to be acknowledged. And you see people who don't get acknowledged all the time. It's something for years that I observed, and then people started talking about it as if it was some kind of badge of honor. And started making memes and quotations about it, about treat the janitor the same as you do the CEO. Well, that's good. That's real good. I guess anything's a good reminder, right? Like love, understanding, compassion, kindness, the acronym being luck, right? To remind us. I'm not saying I don't need reminders, right? But it's kind of strange at the same time. Because what's going on that we need reminders of this stuff? What's going on that we need to be reminded to treat the janitor the same as the CEO? Well, not if he's an asshole. Not if either one of them are jerks. But maybe you stay away from them. But in the broader sense, right, of what people mean when they say that, they mean well, and of course you might know this already, is just it's a way of saying, come on, everybody, let's treat everybody equally. You know, all circumstances being equal, or to the best of our ability, right? Because even some very saintly people treat everybody kindly, even though they're not being treated kindly by someone. And so I salute you, evolved beings who can be so kind. Because, you know, I need to be a monk, right? That's why I live, that's why I'm a monk. Because I need more solitude and more separation than most people do in order to focus myself in my practice, in order to evolve such simple human powers, right? Because I seem to be more animal than human. So I have to practice. And maybe I'm early in the stage of my what do we call reincarnate evolutions, the 9 lives, right? Maybe I might be on number 5 here. And so as a human, right? Who knows? I don't know. Reincarnation has been something I've been forced to deal with much more lately. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the life force, the breath. And the very beginning of the meditation, of a practice, yes, is to begin to observe your breath. That's it. That's the beginning. To just acknowledge that you're breathing. And to acknowledge your breath is to honor your breath, is to give thanks to your breath for cooperating with you, sustain your life. It's a cooperation. The breath goes in and out to make life. Because you, in turn, when you breathe out that carbon dioxide, those plants that are everywhere, they take that in. When you use the sugar, the C6H12O6 in your body, and you use that with oxygen that you breathe in, it explodes with light and water and carbon dioxide. The plants take those exact same things, light, water, carbon dioxide, and turn it into that very same glucose and oxygen that you just breathed in. And the cycle repeats itself. And of course, they get most of their light from the sun. But this breath is a cooperation. It cooperates with you to create life. So we thank it by paying attention to it, which many of us never do, right? If we're being honest, many of us never pay attention to our breath. We never acknowledge it, and so therefore we never thank it for giving us and for continuing to give us life. And so that is the first step. Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice. You're listening to Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander, here on Wisdom in association with UniquilibriuM. Dream Action Yoga is my brand of yoga, and part of it came from wanting to learn as much as I could about yoga so that I could teach it. And maybe I'll get to that story later because it's a fun one, at least to me. But at least now I can tell you there was a book called The Heart of Yoga in which a quote came out that became the tagline here of my practice, one of the defining factors in my practice, which is exposing the conditioned personality. And so I just explained a very simple yoga of breath practice, a pranayama practice, a prana yoga practice. And I just said those names because I used them interchangeably. Pranayama yoga, yoga of breath, breathing yoga, yoga, prana yoga. And the practice is simply to acknowledge your breath, to do all of that, acknowledging of your breath, which is honoring it and being thankful for it. And so now the next step I also added was to give some direction on simply using what could be called a mantra or a mnemonic device, something to keep in mind every once in a while at the same time as you're paying attention to your breath. And this is the acronym LUCK, L-U-C-K, love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. And it would do you well to get a pad of paper and a pen, yes, those archaic and ancient things, a piece of paper and a pen, and write those words down one at a time. Don't write them all down at once. You need space. Write down the word love and go in the dictionary and write down the definition. Oh, I know. I can hear you saying, but then you can't really define love in words. It's in the dictionary. So somebody did it. Please, some of them say a true affection and concern. Just look at what it says and write it down with your own handwriting on a piece of paper. Don't type it out. Don't write it as a note on your mobile device. A piece of paper and a pen, and write down the word love and its definition. Following that, understanding, compassion, and kindness on that piece of paper. It's okay if you're lazy and you write down the first definitions you can find that come up online when you type them into Google. It's an important exercise, but it has nothing to do with breathing per se. It's something that you can do. It's one of these practices. It's a mantra making that you can practice with almost anything that you do, but I'm sharing it with you to practice because some people get bored. They're like, well, I'm just sitting here paying attention to my breath. All right, look, something to help you with your practice. Love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. Love. Look at it as an acronym. Look at the letters all in uppercase in your imagination. Look at them all in lowercase in your imagination. Look at them with periods in between them. Look at them without periods in between them. Look at them in parentheses. Look at them in brackets. Imagine them different colors. Do whatever you like with the letters LUCK and the words love, understanding, compassion, and kindness as you are paying attention to your breath. It's something that goes along with it. Kazi, I acknowledge you. She asked, what are some of the best and free breathwork courses out there, online only? Well, you're listening to one of them right now. And then she also says she's taking notes. So you do very well to take notes. It's going to be a recording here. Of course, it will also pop up on my Spreaker channel and YouTube and everywhere podcasts are listened to online. So, Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice. Dream Action Yoga, Pranayama Practice. So exposing the conditioned personality is something that happens when you begin to practice Dream Action Yoga, my pranayama practice. As you begin to expose all kinds of things that you do unconsciously, controlled by you subconsciously, which is the seat of all of your behaviors. Where would I get such a crazy idea? Why would you say it? Why are you talking about subconscious and unconscious? I also neglected to inform you that I hold a few degrees, and one of them is called a degree in clinical hypnotherapy from America's first nationally accredited college of hypnosis, called the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. It would do you well to look them up at hypnosis.edu to find out all about all of their fascinating courses that they have online. And then you can understand why I've become such a marvelous speaker and hypnotist, because it's the best school for hypnosis in the world. No, but really, they do crank out some pretty amazing folks, and I just happen to barely squeeze out of there and make the best of what they gave me, what they shared with me at that school. The Hypnosis Motivation Institute, hypnosis.edu. And also, I've been teaching yoga since 2004. Specifically, how to use my breath to help and heal myself, and to guide and direct others into using their breath to help and heal. And you know, it's one of the most powerful, not the, but one of the most powerful, if you guys listen to Daryl, right, is his mindset, right? His moments of mindset, right? You will see that breathing is one of the key factors in his practice. He's a yoga practitioner as well, by the way. And the simplest part, but the most difficult part for everyone to practice, is the pranayama. The most difficult thing for us to do is to sustain our life force, but we do it automatically. Can you believe we don't do it enough? Breathe in and out. Do it. Just do it. Right? Once, twice, thrice. And see the difference. And realize that you don't do that all the time, do you? You felt a little woozy, a little high, a little elated, a little better. Maybe it was a little uncomfortable. Maybe it hurt, right? It depends on where you're at in your whole breathing game and what cards you've been dealt. and played and dealt yourself, right? Dealing with lung issues? Are you a smoker? Were you a congenital issue? Born with something? Or did you just get punched in the chest? You fall down, right? We all have all kinds of things. I remember once I was in high school and I was looking over at the track and there was a girl running on the track and I was up in the bleachers that overlooked the baseball diamond that they were facing, but the track was behind it. And I was leaning over and I flipped over forward and landed right on my chest. And to this day, still my sternum cracked when I stretch. When I take a big stretch, I can hear it look click there. So, fortunately, as far as I can tell, I do pretty well with the breathing. I practice 5-minute rounds of kickboxing, which is pretty intense with a 1-minute break in between. So my cardio is good. I've been riding 120 miles on my bicycle on the weekend, 40 miles a day for 3 days in a row. So I understand injuries to the chest and maybe the lungs and COVID going around. Oh no. COVID has left people has reportedly left people's lungs scarred and their breathing more labored than it was had they not been in contact with this very specific COVID or coronavirus, right? Because there's all kinds of coronaviruses. All right. So we've established that we're exposing the conditioned personality, or at least I have a long time ago. That's why I'm talking about it so confidently, that we're exposing the conditioned personality by simply paying attention to our breath. And then we can do something by exposing the conditioned personality by conditioning the personality. What? Hakeem, you just said that you're exposing the conditioned personality, and now you're telling me that you're gonna teach me how to condition? Well, I'm a hypnotist by training, right? So I gotta show you how to do that. I gotta tell you how to go into the darkness in order to show you the way out. No, that's not always true. That's just a fun thing that people like to say, right? You got to do this in order to do that. You don't. If you woke up someplace dark, okay, you could get out without, you had to get in there. But who knows if you were knocked out, if you fell in there when it was light out, right, and then became dark, right? Whatever weird scenario we can think of, right? Just because you fell in the water doesn't mean you're going to fly out, right? Out of the ocean. So another way to expose the conditioned personality, and it's an exercise, it's like a fun game, right? People sit around and they do all these little doodles and bobbles and things on their mobile devices when they're sitting around saying that they're bored. I'm bored. I got nothing to do. So they're just thumbing around on the thing. When you have like one of the best augmented virtual reality experiences possible, because it's not just virtual reality, it is reality, but it's augmented, is your imagination in any facet that you have it. If you can't see pictures, then you might be able to pull up hearing things or feeling things, right? There's all kinds of senses that we have to work with, or emotion, or emoting things. You probably wouldn't be listening to any of this if you didn't have emotions. We all have emotions, right? So we can feel our memories in some way. We can feel our memories in some way. We can recall them in some way, either emotionally or through physical feelings, which are very close to being the same thing. By the way, let's understand that and make that clear if you didn't. A lot of times definitions, hold people back. They don't know how to define things, but emotions are physical. Emotions are how our thoughts get translated into our physical form in our body in a very big way. You know, you walk down the street and you see a snake and you're afraid of you're afraid of snakes, or you see a spider and you're afraid of spiders, right? And you jump back, or whatever critter it is that you're afraid of, right? And then upon further inspection, it's just some gnarled twig sitting on the side there. But you see, that didn't matter, right? At the moment, you thought it was whatever, insert whatever critter freaks you out. And so you jumped and you felt that panic, that fear, right? Your heart's beating all of a sudden. Maybe your body got a little warm. There might be some moisture forming on some part of your head, your eye, your brow somewhere, right? And so for all intents and purposes, it was a snake or it was a spider or whatever, insert your critter there, right? And so that caused you to feel a way in your physical body. Why is your heart beating faster? It's not just because you have to jump 25,000 feet into the air to get away from this imagined beast that was going to do whatever imagined harm to you, right? And that's the definition of a phobia right there. When it's whatever, when I'm using the word whatever, this whatever beast, whatever imagined harm, right? A phobia is distinct from a fear as so far as we define it as clinical hypnotists. Is that a phobia? A fear, you know how, if you got bitten by a spider, then you have a good reason to be afraid of them, especially if it was some kind of ridiculous bite by some kind of creature that does horrible things with its venom, right? That I don't want to talk about right now. You might have trauma, and so that's a fear. That's a known fear. So they would just label that fear in the realm of psychology definitions and things like that, right? Or I'll say in my scope of practice as a clinical hypnotist, right? We borrow that. But a phobia, now that is a fear that you don't know the source. You're afraid of spiders, but you don't know why. You're not exactly sure. You're like, it might be when I was a little kid, I saw a spider bite somebody, or maybe it was I saw a spider biting somebody in a movie, or maybe it was a movie about giant spiders. So, forgive me, folks. Trigger warning. I should have said, well, too late, right? My bad. I was talking about creepy crawling spiders. I didn't mean to do that, and it was very insensitive for me to say too bad. And I'm kind of chuckling at it because I'm laughing at my own ineptitude sometimes. But yeah, because I had one of my clients had an arachnophobia that I helped to extinguish after 14 years. But so it's no laughing matter, at least not all the time. But breath can expose this, all of these conditionings, these fears, these phobias. But one of the ways of conditioning, right? Going back into conditioning, because this is the reason why I went on this whole little journey about being a clinical hypnotist and all of these wonderful little tidbits about hypnosis, was about exposing the conditioned personality, but then conditioning the personality. And one of the ways we condition our personality is with things like, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, right? Or Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, right? Or let's go, right? Whatever it is that we do repeatedly, we can use as a mantra or a prayer or a meditation, something to go along with it. So the one I offer you, that I have already offered you, that I give you, that I beg you to take and use, because it's simple and easy. It's just 4 letters that represent 4 words: love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. LUCK are the letters, of course. Love, understanding, compassion, and kindness are the words. L for love, say it, right? U for understanding, say it. C for compassion, say it. K for kindness, say it. Say the words love, understanding, compassion, kindness, luck. You can create your own luck. So that, and going along with your mindfulness of your awareness, you're honoring, you're thanking, you're breathing for cooperating with you to sustain your magnificent life. Going there is further than almost anyone will ever do. It's a very advanced practice, pranayama yoga. This in itself, without even doing any movements, is the most difficult thing. The practice itself begins with, your student journey begins with acknowledging that your breath exists as often as you possibly can. If possible, or if necessary because of your schedule, then you do it at regular intervals that are scheduled. But you cannot be a practitioner of yoga, this yoga. It's my definition. Anybody will tell you you can practice yoga or anything else. I just say, my students don't practice yoga unless they practice the yoga of the breath. It's the most important thing, more than the movements, more than anything else. And part of that is to acknowledge on a daily basis, even when you are not able to, for whatever reason, to simply take a big deep breath in and out, a big gulp of fresh air, a big breath of fresh air. Breathing in and breathing out, and doing it often. But you see, it's not just doing it often, because you could do that all the time. Sometimes people just take those breaths in and out naturally because their body knows. Your body knows it needs it. There's a part of you that knows it needs it. So sometimes you do it out of anger. You do it out of frustration. You do it just because your body just is suffocating, because all of your breaths so before that, leading up to that throughout the day, have been so shallow. And so you need to breathe it in and out intentionally and on purpose. Intentionally and on purpose. Right? You're doing it to do something. Right? In the beginning, I shared with you, and I'm repeating again, that when you acknowledge the breath in and out, or even when you breathe the breath in and out, when you take control of it for a few breaths, a few moments, or for whatever time you decide, whether it be long or short, you acknowledge that it's because you are doing something good for you. That's it. That's the yoke. That's the yoga. That's the dream action yoga. That's all the yoga. All the yoga right there is the breathing. Start by acknowledging that you even have it, and partnering that with saying, or just knowing the feeling of it, right? Because there's different ways that I'm doing this. This is good for me. Hello, Dr. Rao.
Hi, Hakeem. How are you?
Excellent, sir. Great to talk to you again.
Yeah, this breathing is, I'm glad you are focusing and telling people how important it is. It is the life force that is coming into you, not just the air, So it's like what they call about Kumbha Nadi. That life is associated with that, and the breathing happens through that. And it's a very important thing, as you were pointing it out. In yoga, breathing is very important. And in my practice in the morning, one of the three principles is this. Second one is the breathing, And I also tell people to take a present moment breathing break, 1 minute every hour. The doctors that work with me, or they come to me for burnout and all that, I tell them about this present moment breathing break. Do it 1 minute so that you can get rid of all the brain fog for that hour, and that is so simple. It works so well. Other simple trick is you go driving and you stop in front of a red light, just to use that time to have this 3-4 deep breaths, not in a compulsive way, but more
Yes.
like you are welcoming the life force within you and you are grateful for that life force. And without that, you are not there. Uh, so I just wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to support you and encourage you to promote this breathing thing. That's why I came up. But the yoga is much deeper, and I talk about it a lot. But there is a poem in Bhagavad Gita about this. They say, Yogastha Kuru Karmani. That means first attain the state of internal um, yoke, that is combination with the universal consciousness, your consciousness. And once you establish yourself in that, then do everything else. All the asanas, pranayama, they are important
Yes.
because you got to maintain the body, you got to keep the mind under control, and you got to keep your energy body, which is connected with the breath, under control, and then intellect also. But all these are really separate from our real self, and that self is part of the universal self. Once you understand your connection established there.
So,
Hmm.
Dr. Rao, thank you very much for sharing that with me. And I'd like to ask another question, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
So you said that in your practice, you said the second thing principle is breath. What was the first one again?
Be in the present.
Being, yes, the
Be
presence.
in the present. That means be aware, not caught up in your thoughts,
Yes.
but in your awareness in the
Okay.
present. The third principle is do whatever you are doing so that it's aligned to the both sides of the body. So I start with the physical body exercises, and then in that there will be deep breathing. Like for example, you are assuming an asana, right? Stay in that asana, the posture. First
Mm.
assume that there are base, middle, advanced, and very advanced poses. That in the one pose there are these stages, right? Whoever can do whatever they can do, they can go from there. No competition, right? Once you assume the posture, do like a 3 breaths, 5 breaths, stationary in that one. That way, your deep breathing really gets energy to the four corners of your body because you are making a posture where muscles are going that way and staying there and working, right? And the stretch, the strain, everything that you feel, more oxygen goes there because of your deep breathing and you have relief from that right
Mm.
there, you know. And the third thing
Yes.
is always balance it, whatever you are doing, with your other side of the head. That is very important. Even in the breathing, there is this alternate nostril breathing, which is called anuloma viloma or nadi shodhana. Nadi shodhana means you are purifying the energy channels. Nadis are energy channels. They're not nerves. They're like energy channels, right? That meridians
Yes.
in our body. So when you open both nostrils and breathe alternately, what happens is there's equality of breathing in both sides. Otherwise, one nostril kind of lower functioning compared to the other one every 45 minutes. Anybody can study that in their own body. It's like a physiological thing.
Yes.
So what we want to do is more
Absolutely.
efficiency. So you open both sides.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Dr. Rao, this is amazing. I really appreciate your wisdom and sharing, and also it helps to affirm
Yeah,
my practice.
yeah,
And I wanted to revisit what you were saying earlier about being present
yeah.
as number one,
Hmm.
and then moving to the breath, because
Yeah, let me
also
share
this.
something
Yes.
deeper there. Okay. You see, when you are
Yes,
talking
please.
about presence and the breathing, see what happens when we are allowing the thought to function on its own, it can go back and recollect things or regret whatever, right? Our victories and all that. So kind of living in the past. Or it can go into the future, projecting something like a dream, like aspiration. They're not bad, but the thing is, life is here and now. So bring the lessons of the past
Yes.
into the present, or what is the plan you are having in the future. but the steps of the plan are in the present you do. So that's why you get more into present by controlling the breath. You are controlling the movement of thought.
Right.
And that's why you have to
Wow.
take deep breath. You see that thought is slowing down. So they both come from the same center of what they call Shakti, that's the power, our inner power, and one dominates the other and then suppresses them. So if you are thinking very fast, you can notice your breathing is shallow and fast. And that is not what we advise. Pranayama means prana is life force, ayama means extending that.
Yes.
So you take,
That's
you have
right.
a fixed amount of breath in your life. So you don't want to expand them right away. Instead of breathing 16 breaths per minute, you want to make them like 4. That is the yogic pranayama does that way. That's a very advanced stage. But you can come to 12 or 8 like that, right? And that deep breath, what it does is it kind of relaxes your thought, and also it kind of relaxes your vagus nerve, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, which kind of acts as an antidote to the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight syndrome. That is our animal mind, reactive mind. So there's so much
Yeah.
depth in that breathing, Hakim. That's why I'm very happy that you are promoting it, you are practicing. We are all students, maybe at different stages. Like I walked a couple of steps ahead of you, that is okay. But
Yes.
still, I consider myself a student because it's so vast of a science that one is. No? Yeah.
That's right. Wow. I really am so thankful, Dr. Rao, for you coming and sharing your experience and your practice and your wisdom. And I'd like to ask, I know that you are a physician. What is your specialty? I know you're a
I mean,
physician,
internal
yoga,
medicine. Internal medicine.
internal medicine.
Uh,
Yes.
you know what it is?
Now, a
The
lot of
discovery.
people,
Yeah, the discovery
yeah,
is
no, a
as
lot of
a
people don't,
physician. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. Right.
No, a lot of people don't know
You were
what
saying
internal
something else.
medicine is. They hear
Yeah,
internal
internal
medicine and they're like,
medicine
what does that mean?
is basically practicing medicine of all 12 subspecialties together, but we don't go very depth in like cardiology, for example. I go at depth because I was in cardiology in India, but I also
Yeah.
practice pulmonary medicine, digestive medicine. All those 12 subspecialties are there. We have like a initial thing, and then we can go as depth as we want, or we can go superficially and
Yeah.
refer them to the expert. So obviously we cannot master everything. We don't have to. All we have to do is when we don't know about
Yes.
certain thing, and then seek the person who is expert in that and involve them in my patient care. One thing I
Yes.
do though, I don't give my patient just like a consult and forget reporting. I will be consultation with the patient with that
Okay.
expert, and then bring that knowledge to them. Lots of times, because of my trying to understand everything, I kind of go very depth. So the experts will say sometimes they learn from me, but sometimes I learn from them. It's for the benefit of my patient. I do whatever I can
Yes.
do. Basically, bring in the best that happened so far in the research for the benefit of the patient, right? And
Mm.
then we recommend, like for
Right.
example, sinusitis before it was there, they used to do a surgery for that, But now we found out that is more harmful than the not doing it. So then we don't recommend the surgery for anybody now, that kind of thing. So advances happen in the
Ah,
external things, especially modern medicine is has kind of reductive. That means cardiologist doesn't know how to manage diabetes, or endocrinologist will not know how
right.
to manage a chest pain patient. But what we do is we kind of
Yeah.
get them together, integrated. Yoga gives me not just the physical body, but also there are 5 different layers of body that is surrounding our soul. First one is our physical body, which is made
Mm.
up of food and all the muscles and bones and all. Second layer is our breathing body, that is the pranic body, that is vital energy body. Okay, that is the pranamaya kosha they call it. And then we have these thoughts, feelings, and all that. That is our mental body. And we have this knowing,
Ah,
understanding, and all that. That is the intellectual body. And then there is another layer which is called blissful body. We have that kind of body within us, but we cover it up with all our thoughts and all that. And then these 5 layers of our body really engulfs that soul, which is our energy. That is the one which is a reflection of the universal soul. And in yoga, you try to mix with that. That is the yoke. Okay, but then you need the body, mind, emotions, everything is
Yes.
integrated. Then you will realize
Mm.
it. Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Ra, once again, you have uh, added so much value to this space and this time today,
Yeah.
and
I
more
just
ways
came
than
to
I,
support you again.
I,
That's all.
I could be thankful for. I appreciate because your wisdom, it's so many different levels. You're helpful because you came to want
Yeah.
support. You said, "Hey, I appreciate what you're doing," and then you gave me the examples, and then from your expertise and from the fact that you practice yoga, and then you're also a physician and have your
Yeah.
training in that aspect.
Yeah,
It's
a lot of people
yeah,
get confused. How come a modern physician is talking about yoga? What it is what I discovered was we are limited in our modern medicine about treating chronic diseases. We kind of do the patchwork, symptom control, and all that, but we don't really treat them to get rid of the chronic illnesses. What I found in ancient health practices were they go to the roots of the problem and then really bring it off. For example, you are mentally very conflicted individual, then whatever you do, blood sugars will not be controlled. So they go to that and attend to that. And that kind of thing I learned. Then I found those health sciences from the ancient will help us chronic diseases here. Like I'm an example. I'm 68, almost coming on to I don't have any medication. I
yeah,
had health problems before,
yeah,
but then and the modern lifestyle and all that. But then I switched to this holistic health practices, not connected to, mind you, I don't call myself any particular country, even though I am fond of India and United States for different reasons. I don't say I'm one
yes,
particular country. I'm the world citizen. You're all world citizen too. And I'm not talking from the religious because I don't do any religious practice. Spiritual for me
right,
means what is the internal change. Suppose I'm very mannerful to you outwardly, but inwardly
okay.
I resent you, then
So,
I'm not spiritual.
Dr. Ra, that's
Yeah,
very important. Say that
yeah.
again. Spiritual is what?
Spiritual is internal transformation of our negativity
Yeah,
into something positive that we should be.
yeah,
There is divine, the nobler instinct within each human being, and that is in our grasp. Only the lower self we have to unable to control that. The animalistic, the instincts of selfishness, things like that, right? We can transcend them. That is
right,
spiritual for me. Why don't we go for a religious thing and all the days? Religious practice may be good for this kind of spiritual inner transformation, but they are causing like divisions among human beings. That's what I'm against. That's why I don't have to call
mm,
myself any particular thing. And then I'm open to every ism. If all the paths are okay, they can
yeah,
follow that, but there should not be divisions among us. That's all I'm concerned about. That's why I say I'm a modern man,
uh,
I'm a citizen of the world. I don't really practice religious dogma, but I take to take the good things out of every religion and then mix it for the spiritual transmission from within. But the health practices wise, if you go back and study the ancient cultures, how they did, how they lived with the nature, they were very healthy practices. Like, for example, I'm indulged in entertainment, digital
yes,
entertainment all day. That's not good for my mind. But what they did was they kind of closed their eyes and went into
mm,
themselves and meditated, calmed their mind. And the calming the mind is very good for our health.
right,
That's what I
yes.
do.
I heard when I was in school for clinical hypnosis, I took a one of my continuing education courses or a video I was watching from the school the other day, and the instructors were sharing about pain relief because I have
Hmm.
one of my and they were saying that something very similar, that simply helping someone to be able to
Yeah.
relax itself
Right.
is
Right.
a can help them to relieve pain because
Let me tell you
tension.
a story on that. I
Yes,
think you'll appreciate that because this was a pain medicine conference, because we have to take these
yes,
hours to qualify for, all that, right? We went there. And this man who lived his life 30, 40 years in pain control, he came and gave us a very good lesson, which I knew because of the yogi sciences teacher that, right? He said, anybody who is
Yeah.
complaining of pain, its actual pain is only 25%, but the 75% of anticipation and what that mind is doing with the pain. If somebody is trained about controlling the pain,
Yeah.
they take a lot of pain because their pain threshold very high. But whereas if you train somebody, like in this culture, small pain, they want to give something right away. And the more bigger armaments like addictive medications you use, then you lose that pain threshold, then you're always living in the anticipation of pain, what's going to happen, how much it is going to hurt and all that. So can you imagine pain control doctor coming and telling
Yes.
about that? But then actual practice in life, everybody gulps pain medication very simply. You can, you believe it or not, I have not taken any pain medication for years, not even aspirin. See, that is how
Oh,
you
I believe
train
it.
your pain
I don't.
threshold to get up by,
That's
uh,
right.
yeah, everybody, we all know that that is the truth because, but we are trained culturally like there is a magic bullet for everything. See, they underestimate healing power of our own body and mind. Ancients did a
Mm.
lot on that. So I caught hold of that. That's why I practice modern medicine, but I use these good things that happened in the ancient wisdom for my benefit of the patients and myself and the family. It's working very well. Then only thing is they should not be labeled like a culturally they belong to this culture or they own it or they are big people because of it. That's all nonsense. Science also, if you find something, it's for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like that, for external sciences, modern science is good. But internal science of a human being, ancient
Yes.
health systems, we should take a look at.
That's. I couldn't agree more. It's been one of those things that, you know, interestingly enough, are also some of the things that you can do that are really very accessible
Yeah,
that aren't necessarily accessible, uh, you know, if you don't have a lot of resources.
yeah,
Some people are not able to, have access to certain things,
yeah,
and so it's very helpful for them to be able to have access to that.
yeah. That is true with the external resources, that is so much inequality and all that. But you know what I learned from the yogis who are living in the um, hills or Himalayas or forests? They don't have any resources even ordinary people have in India because they have to go into the forest and they don't hunt animals. They have to take vegetables and fruits and all that, right? And that's so they kind of exercise some of these things that give them control about the internal autonomic nervous system also. That means they eat only once. Yoga is called Eka Bhukta. Eka means one, Bhukta means meal. They take only one meal a day, in the late afternoon life. Why that is because they allow the digestive juices to flow so much, the hunger is so much, that's when they eat and everything will be digested very well. And also they give the rest of the time, don't take any snacks or anything that we modern people are used to. And that's why they keep everything normal because they respond to the physiological rhythms that we have in the body. Eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're asleep, that kind of. But when what we do with our mind activity, we kind of submerge this natural processes. That's called diurnal rhythm in modern medicine. We all know that every 12 hours our rhythms change and we go to sleep, we get up, and then we have this exhilaration, then appetite, then hunger, then eating, and then digesting and all that. So they mastered those internal processes very well so that they can control even their temperature, even their blood pressure, and all that. For example,
Yeah.
like last night my wife was saying, "Oh, it's getting cooler here. It's getting into 60s." And do you feel that coolness and all? I was sitting in front of the window. I was enjoying the cool air, right? But she felt the cold. Why that is that I do what's called a pranayama breathing. It's called Agni Sara. Agni means fire. Sara means rekindling
Uh,
the fire from within. That is around the umbilicus, right? So what
Okay.
you do is,
And
yeah,
so, what do you call that again? What's the name of it?
Agni Sara.
Agni Sada. Okay.
So that actually this is very good for the obese people. I used to teach them this, and they used to generate this appetite that will engulf a lot of calories that they have, and they were able to lose a lot of unnecessary calories like that, you know. But then it has to be done slowly, and it doesn't happen right away. For me, for example, the moment I contract my abdominal muscles and then hold my breath and move the abdomen wall up and down like 20 times, it stimulates powerful energy from within. You know, that's subjective. Anybody can see it too. So there is
Yes.
so much about this. I call the yogic sciences because they did not say because this is so. They have experimented for years and years, discussed for years and years. And one thing is, they did not compromise truth because they were not interested in any worldly affairs. Nothing can corrupt them. They only want the
Yeah.
truth to be found, and then they want to pursue that. They don't mind saying that I'm wrong at all because they always said I don't know, and from there they advance to the knowledge. So that's what I
Yes.
do. External sciences very good for so many things, and I follow the science very much. But at the same time, science is also good for internal process. But practicing what we practitioners are doing is we are conveniently coming to one particular part of the body and say that is everything. But we need all of that, right? The body, mind, and spirit, and
Yeah.
everything. So what I practice is integrated medicine from ancient wisdom and modern medicine.
And Dr. Rao, where do you
I am
practice?
in Iowa now. I used to have a big clinic in Iowa. I sold it in 2019, but I also have licenses in Illinois, so I have a small thing. But mostly now, these things that I'm talking about, burnout coaching, stressed out coaching, like yesterday, a physician called me from Canada, and she had a lot of questions about chronic illnesses and all that. And I talked to her for 1.5 hours, and she was bowled over because what I have to say, because that is my passion too. How can we get the chronic illnesses under our control, right? So those kind of people occupy my time because
Yes.
reaching out like that, she's the leader of 1,200 physicians, I believe. You know, so educating her really helps all those physicians too, in a way, right? At least she will go and spread that. She is very passionate about that. So that kind of work I'm involved in, where instead of seeing only few individual patients, I may do 20 patients a day. I'm reaching out to vast amounts of people this way. That way, there's an education, there is an awareness that I'm bringing out about these things without being dogmatic about being certain religion, certain things, none of that. This is scientific truth, and present the evidence to them, let them examine, let them lead that life, and then see what they have to do. They don't have to follow anything that they say, but they can think about it and then come to the conclusion, you know.
Uh-huh.
So my practice is more like an
Yes.
online now. Very little in the clinic is happening, but online I have
And
expanded
you
from
have
one
a
state to another.
wellness.
Yeah, club.
So you have a wellness club, right?
Yeah, they come in the morning and in the evening, and that's where I do this. I basically start with where they are. They say we should not force anybody, right? They have to enjoy what they are doing. You know, they have to get the benefit right away. With the breathing, Hakim, what you're talking about, the benefits are if you do proper, you can feel the bit a little bit or more right away.
Yes. So are you also your wellness club? I saw
Yeah.
you have it's is it beapal.net,
Uh,
BEAPAL
yeah.
dot net
.NET
forward slash
They
register?
just, yeah, that's where they go. As this, okay, I put a nominal price so that people will commit to them because they pay some money, you know. But
Right.
actually, if I charge them, I can go up to thousands to charge what it is. But basically, I make them start the day in awareness, in presence, completely energized, and also really relaxed from mind to the body, and then go to the world in a non-reactive state so that they can respond to the challenges with balance, with control of their mind and everything in that. That's the purpose. And usually I kind of focus on being in the practice, I do the yoga with them, I do the breathing, I do the witness conscious exercise and all that. But then they are reporting that they are having this relief from this constant chatter in their mind, and also this reactive nature is gone down. They are able to more control about things, and they don't have much stress and burnout.
Oh, wow. Stress and burnout,
Yeah,
that's a major thing for a lot of people,
yeah,
is having that stress and burnout. And
yeah. I will say one more thing, Hakim, and then I will take
sure,
leave because I have to get ready for other things. Um, Suppose you take a paper and put 10. What's the value of the zero? Nothing, right?
zero, right?
Nothing,
Nothing.
right? And you put another zero there. What happens?
Still nothing.
Nothing. And use another zero, nothing. So, suppose these three zeros represent like a material wealth, and also our constant mind or scholarship or whatever we have, talents,
Yeah,
and all the pleasures in the world. All they become zero. But if you put one before that, then the whole thing becomes $1,000, and that is
yes.
more valuable. Like that,
Hmm.
if you don't have this spiritual quest within in your life, whatever you do will not be really valuable because there may be superficial pleasures for a while, but they go away. They don't have not sustained. That's why people go for the addictions and all. But when you bring this inner exploration, inner spiritual quest, then that becomes very valuable.
Yeah,
I don't have any addictions in my life. I never smoked. I never do drugs or anything. I might have taken some wine socially, but now I don't even take. For years, I haven't taken any alcohol at all because it doesn't appeal to me. And
yes,
there is this blissfulness within that outbeats any other pleasure outward.
yeah. You're right. Um, Sometimes, very often, freeing ourselves from
Yeah,
these things
that's the
is,
correct word. Freeing ourselves. That's very correct
yeah,
word. Yeah,
uh, it becomes very powerful.
yeah,
And, you know, a lot of people would be well to take that wisdom.
yeah.
So,
Exactly. Wisdom within, realize that, and then come out
yeah,
and do other things. That life will be like a blissful experience. It's like a spirit experience, a human experience, much better than human being trying to be spiritual and go there. We are already that spiritual being. We don't realize that.
right,
That's all. Yeah. So
exactly.
thank you, Hakim. Thanks for bringing this
All right.
topic up. Okay.
Yes,
Bye bye.
sir. Dr. Rao, it was a pleasure talking to
Yeah.
you and a pleasure having you come up in here today
Yeah.
to speak to me and share your wisdom in um, as a physician and also a yoga practitioner. I mean, I couldn't ask for more insight. It was really great talking to you, and hopefully I'll see you around the halls of wisdom sometime soon.
Yeah.
And I'll be hearing from you more. Thank you very much once again.
Bye bye, Hakim.
Okay. Have a good one. Take care. That was Dr. Rao. He came up to share some of his wisdom about his uh, experience with yoga and breathing. And I'm really glad that he helped to affirm that some of the things I've been doing with my practice
Yeah.
are right on point. Hello, Mary Cara. How are you today?
Yeah, Dana. It's one of those scam callers. I'll be there, John. John, give me 5 minutes, please. Oh my God.
so,
Hello, Hakim.
so
Wow.
here's what we're going to do. Take a deep breath in and out. Just one. That's all you need. All right,
Wow.
there we go.
I had to call the police last night because he refused to put on his oxygen. He's in
You know,
oxygen.
and we're
Yes.
talking about breathing. I heard you say that to Rodney earlier. Um, is he doing better now with his
Yeah, he's
oxygen?
much better. I spoke to his sons One of them was sick. The other one didn't want to come because he has a baby. He was afraid that the baby might get sick. So I had no choice but to do this. And the funny thing is that he wanted me handcuffed. And the
Wow.
officer goes, I gotta go. I have a fire to deal with. So
Okay.
it's
Well,
about, doing the right thing and facing your
yeah.
fears. And today I'm going to really relax. And I just noticed um, he cannot have salt. And I'm in the kitchen. The salt shaker is nearly quarter full. It was full a couple of days
Wow.
ago.
Okay.
That's why I just told his son. And he said, are you sure? I said, I'm positive.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy day, crazy night, but he's much better today. Much, much better. So,
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah,
I know I heard you talking to Rodney about it earlier, and I was, I felt it a little bit, but, oh, am I correct? That was, yeah, because that's the only thing I listened to this morning. And you did sound a little distressed, but I'm glad that
yeah,
that you're doing a little bit better now. And
yes.
I encourage you, because that's what I'm talking about now, is pranayama. To every once in a while take a moment. It will be really helpful to take a big deep breath in. Just every once in a while, breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. And
And
just every once in a while when you do it.
and it's so funny. This morning, I have a friend. She's a psychiatrist from the United Nations. She sends me this thing I have to watch on anger management.
Ah,
Yeah, and I have
yes.
to read it. And I'm sorry, Hakim, I don't have your. Are you on Instagram?
Yes, I am.
Oh
It's the same name as my account here, UniquilibriuM, but I will send you a message.
no, I
Yeah, I'll
can't. My
send.
bubble is not working.
Oh, it's still not working? Okay,
Still not
that's right.
working.
I think, well, I thought that you had contacted me on
Yes, I
Instagram
did.
already.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
It's been
yeah,
crazy because basically I've been here like for 21 days straight.
yeah, I get
And
that.
yeah, so one of the sons was overseas. He just came back and he's a little sick, so he's afraid to come.
Yeah,
But he sounds good. He's just, I think, one of those things.
right. Yeah,
And so the other one is a doctor and he has to go to work. And so he has to come and check his, he used up all that salt. That's why his legs are swollen. That's how he ended up in the hospital.
yeah, that's yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah,
Um, it's a combination of things. It's not easy. You have your work cut out for you, as you know. It's going to be tough. So just continue to
yeah,
prepare
yeah.
to,
So
and also don't be afraid to ask for help.
no,
When
that's why I had to call I called EMT, but it was an officer that came. Finally, he calmed him down, and I'm on a body cam. I had to state my name, and then they know him, they know me, and basically I needed that help. I had to do it. His son said, "Don't do it." I said, "I have to." His
yeah,
oxygen was going down, and he wouldn't do it. So and they have to wean him off, but it takes time.
that's
And
right. I know.
so it was stressful. It's been stressful
Yes,
for weeks.
I can
And
imagine.
like all of us, he has bad days. He has good days, and he's on a special diet. He's used to eating, hamburger and French fries and hot dogs and all that stuff. That's not good, all processed. So
Yeah,
I truly do believe in nutrition, and I always did.
right. The power of nutrition to heal. Yes.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he's doing good as long as he follows. But this morning, I'm like looking at the salt shaker; it's almost empty. That's why
Hmm.
he's retaining water. So
Yeah.
basically, I love yoga. By the way, I do yoga quite a bit.
Well, a lot of people do yoga. It's interesting to note that Dr. Rao didn't say this, and a lot of people don't say this at all, and many people probably wouldn't even acknowledge it. But there's one yoga. However, you can practice yoga in such a way as to cause very bad effects. So
Yes.
everybody, so
Like,
everybody's practicing yoga, but it's what are you uniting with? What are
yeah,
you yoking?
like I used to take yoga classes, and it was like I'm a former gymnast, number one. Number two, certain things I did not agree with. It's not good for
Sure.
my body. And she insisted on this hot yoga. So I went.
Hmm. Yes.
But I was going to collapse.
Uh-oh.
I literally had to walk out. I mean, the instructor was upset, but that's not good for me. That's not good for my body. It's a small place. It's hot and too many people in there.
Yeah.
So, but I do yoga in a form that's good for me, and it's stretching.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Well,
I'm also under chiropractic care, which is really, really great.
so it's working for you.
Oh yeah. And this week I'm gonna there's a machine that you go upside down,
Yes.
and I'm gonna try that. Basically, you're stretching, and you're.
Yeah, it works
I've
with
done that.
it works with gravity, and so you're
Yeah,
strapped in upside
yeah,
down and it stretches your spine. I've seen them and I've used them every once in a while. They're really great.
yeah.
Um,
I want to try it. I think I tried it before. I just don't remember. But he's really great. This man is really great. And he stretched my spine Saturday, and I
yeah.
came back. When I got off that table, I swear I thought I was like dizzy. And he said, "That's okay, just take your time." And he was laughing. But within 5 minutes, you're okay. And I come home, and I was so relaxed. I basically walked. I think it was about 2 mile walk.
Uh-huh.
And just 6 months ago, I couldn't even walk to the bathroom.
Wow. Yeah.
I severely, John, hold on. I got to get the oxygen. Hold on.
It's amazing the ups and downs in life.
Yeah, but it happens. But we all heal,
That's right.
provided that's what we
Or
want.
or we don't. Yeah, that's
Or
right.
we don't. Some of us don't.
Yeah.
Here we go again. John, if you want to go there, you got to let me
So
know. So
we have to
let
focus
you
on
go.
our
I'll let you go, and I'll come back. And
Okay, Mary. Thank you for coming
thank
up
you.
and always sharing with me. I love you and
I love
keep
you
me
too.
posted. All right,
Thank you. I will.
later. Let's take a moment and breathe in once again and out. So, not to scare you or anything, but as I was saying, there is a way that you can use yoga negatively. Um, a lot of people don't think about it this way, but I look at a lot of things in universal terms. And so yoga really is a universal thing. You can look at it as all things in some ways. And so if you're using yoga to heal yourself, you can also consider that any ailments that you have are a type of yoga against yourself, but not always are you fully responsible for it in your immediate environment. You could say in a broader sense, as some people in the New Age and metaphysical circles would say, that in a broader sense, any disease, illness, ailments, or difficulties, challenges, we have brought it upon ourselves. And that's a very difficult thing for people to accept. And I don't always accept it at every moment because it's not necessary to have in mind all the time. But one thing that we can keep in mind is the honor of our breath. And that as we pay attention to our breathing, we can also realize that we can control to some degree whether our breath comes in or whether it goes out, whether we hold it out, or whether we hold it in, whether we make it fast, or whether we breathe in slowly, breathing in and breathing out. So I am going to go practice yoga right now with a client. So I have about 15 minutes to get over to the gym at One Life Fitness in Red Mill here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and go work with one of my clients who, they think they're doing resistance training with weights, but I'm always coaching them on how to breathe and, more importantly, how to move in coordination with how they breathe. Because in this aspect, yoga can be, when you think about it in the physical aspect, everything that you do physically, you can unite with your breath and cause it, steer it, guide it to be therapeutic in some way. And that's what I do with dream action yoga, exposing the conditioned personality with a pranayama practice. You expose the conditioned personality by focusing on your breath. And then, as you continue to focus on your breath, you can condition your personality with something else, like the mantra that comes from the acronym LUCK, L-U-C-K, love, understanding, compassion, and kindness. And as you continue to focus on your breath, just observing it, moving in and out, and also thinking about the words love, understanding, compassion, and kindness, and seeing that as an acronym, you can then begin to control your breath, breathing in and out slowly, breathing in and breathing out. And you can practice that on a regular basis. You can build up to just that one single breath, or you can take 3, 5, 10, or as many breaths as you need to hold yourself into the practice for as long or as little as you need, or that serves you, or that you have time for available in that moment. But simply observing the breath is acknowledging the breath. And that acknowledgement is honoring it and thanking it for cooperating with you to create life, to sustain life. And in one step, you expose the personality that's conditioned, all the ways that you may be behaving poorly for yourself, like maybe holding your breath or taking short and shallow breaths. And maybe these ways that you're breathing are because you're angry or holding on to some resentment, or something else is happening in your life at the moment that is rightly causing you to clench up and tense up in frustration or fear or anger. But knowing that you can use these tools of breath, even in that moment, you can expose that conditioning, the conditioning which had you breathing more shallow, which had you breathing in an unhealthy way, which had you shortening your breaths or holding it all together. The conditioning is when you got scared or were angry or were frustrated, that you treated your breath in a way that wasn't good for you. And so you expose that. And you expose it by breathing into it, by saying, I will do this instead. I will nurture myself. I will breathe in and breathe out to strengthen myself. I will breathe in and breathe out to feel better, to do better. If only in just that breathing in this moment, because I can't stop the anger, the frustration, the pain, the fear from happening right now, the situation. But I can take in that deep breath. Maybe. It depends. Maybe you could try. But is there a try? Right? Is Master Yoda correct that there is do and do not? There is no try. So can we do breathe deeply, or can we not breathe deeply? We have the choice. We can at least make an attempt to breathe more deeply, which is doing good for yourself. So every time you breathe in or acknowledge your breath, or remember even the words dream, action, yoga, pranayama, chi, ki, life force. When you acknowledge your breath, just remember that you are doing good for yourself. You've been listening to Dream Action Yoga Pranayama Practice, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander, here on Wisdom in association with Uniquilibrium.